Good morning, everybody. Thanks, Eamon. Way to get everybody's attention. You are chatting, and that is wonderful. I'm just going to encourage more of that. So we're going to start with a time of greeting. So go find some people you haven't seen in a while or somebody you don't know. Go say hello, and we'll get started here in just a few minutes. If you are online, we'd love to know where you're watching with us as well. Ready, set, go. All right, I'm going to invite you to find your seats again if you haven't already. And I'm going to invite a couple of people up to give this morning. Sarah Jane's going to come up, and Krista's going to come up. They'll make their way up as everybody sits. You're just fine. Sarah Jane has an invitation for this week.
Hello, hello. Today is Sunday, so this invitation is for Thursday. We are doing the only fireside chat of the summer on Thursday. Fingers crossed that there's no wildfire smoke or other crazy event going on. So please, please, please feel free to join us, my family, anyone else who wants to co-host with me. We will be in our backyard. I have 11 stable study chairs. If you want to bring your own chair, you can. If you'd like to bring a beverage, and then we'll have things for s'mores. We'll meet from 7 to 9-ish, and it will be really, really casual. So if you have kids, bring kids. If you have somebody you meet this week that you want to bring them too, okay? And if you need my address, just chat with me afterwards.
Great job, Sarah Jane. That is also in the Church Center app. If you have that, all the details and the address there as well. So, she's not kidding. If you meet somebody who might like some connection, she's really not kidding. Krista's going to tell us about something that's happening next week.
Good morning. Like I mentioned last week, end of August through October. So if you know someone that would be interested in that, or you are, come donate and get a ticket. There you go. We could take yeah, exactly, field trip. So if you have any questions, let me know. We had a couple first-time donors last time. So if you've never donated, if you have questions, I'd be more than happy to answer those. Minimum age to donate is 16. So if you have someone who's in that age category with parental consent, they can donate. You have to be a certain height and weight. There's kind of a criteria, but yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Krista. Lots of good things happening throughout the summer. So moments for connection, moments for giving, and a branch trip to the Renaissance Fair. That's what I heard. So fun. I've never been before, so I'm all in for it. Did anybody park in a newly painted parking spot this morning? Ah ha ha ha! How beautiful are lines in a parking lot? Is that such a weird thing to say? But it is. So in the last couple of weeks, the asphalt got redone in that part of our parking lot as part of this bioswale project. So there's a bunch of dirt over there. It's going to keep going, and it's going to turn into a lot more beautiful than just a dirt pile. But part of our parking lot got redone as part of that as well. So grateful for the bioswale that's coming, for native plants, and for collecting rainwater that will absorb in the ground instead of going right into Plaster Creek. Grateful for parking lot lines. Can I say that? Can I be grateful for lines? Because it's fun. How many of you parked in a spot that you were like, maybe this is in a line? Yeah, I did. I did too. So also, a part of our Rooted and Restored campaign is to finish that parking lot. So everything looks as nice as those beautifully painted lines that you have. And there are not holes in the ground when you park. So our Rooted and Restored campaign kicked off earlier this summer, back in May. And many of you have made commitments for that. Many of you started giving to that. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. If you haven't made a commitment yet, if you haven't started giving, now's a great time to do that. We just wanted to remind you of that. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, I have a couple of handouts out here up front here if you would like a little bit more information. This is our effort to make this space hospitable and welcoming and usable for generations to come. Doing some big work that has needed to be done for a little while, and this is our way to say, we're going to stay here and we're going to commit to this space and to making it a place of belonging for anyone who comes into our doors. So it's also in your Church Center app. How many times can I say Church Center app in one morning? I don't know, that's like 4. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, come see me or Chris a little later and we can connect you with that as well. All right, I'm going to invite the band to come forward, And we are going to speak a call to worship and then move right into a song. So I'm going to invite you all to stand if you are able, if you would like to, and join me in the words of the call to worship. They will be up on your screen. Your words are in gold. Okay? We gather today from many different seasons of life and experiences. We gather today grateful for the gift of community. We come with our certainty and with our doubt. We come with our gratitude and our grief. Here in this space, it is all welcome. Here in this space, we all belong. So we open our minds to listen and learn. We open our hearts to seek God's mercy and love. This moment in this space is a time to pause, a time to be at peace. Our lives are often full and busy, rushing from one thing to another. God, would you slow us down and lead us to rest by the waters that refresh? Amen.
Good shepherd, would you teach me how to rest? I'm rushing on, will you make me to lie down? Will you build a fold by the waters that refresh? Will you call my name and lead me safely out? Drive to labor on and on, from the restless grind that has put my mind to sleep. Will you call me back and gently slow me down? Will you show me now what to lose and what to keep? Oh, good shepherd, oh, good friend, slow me down, slow me down. Oh, good shepherd, oh, good friend, slow me down, slow me down. When my table's bent with only greed and gold, and my grasping hands are afraid you won't provide, will you pour the wine that loosens up my hold? Set your table here with what truly satisfies. Oh, good shepherd, oh, good friend, slow me down, slow me down. Oh, good shepherd, oh, good friend, slow me down, slow me down. On the busy streets, trying to make myself a name. If the work is yours, there's nothing I can claim. Will you lead me home to the pastures of your peace? The house is yours, I'm sitting at your feet. Oh, good shepherd, oh,
You can have a seat, everybody. My family's been gone for a couple of Sundays, which is odd to be gone for a couple of consecutive Sundays, but not to be too cliche. But, absence does make the heart grow fonder. And there's something about being away that just makes me realize how much I appreciate this community of people. And so I'm glad to be back. We had a lovely time. I'll share a little bit more about that in a moment. I do want to just help us remember what we're talking about here this summer for most of the weeks. We've been walking through different Psalms and talking about how we can think of these Psalms in three categories. Often they fall into one of these three. That they're Psalms of orientation. They help us figure out how the world works and what our place is in it and what's true. Then there are Psalms that speak of those times when we go through disorientation, when everything gets turned upside down, when the world that we thought was a certain way all of a sudden is not. And then Psalms of reorientation, where a new way of seeing, a new way of thinking or being kind of comes into focus. I think that there's a real potential that we might, in this series, be thinking that these Psalms kind of happen in a way that's linear. You know what I'm talking about? Like, first there's Psalms of orientation, and our life has these seasons of orientation, and then we hit disorientation, and then we hit reorientation. And that it always happens in that order, and it's always linear, and one follows the next. I think there's some truth in that. Often the progression is that way, but it might be more helpful to think of these things more like a cycle, and not a cycle with arrows in one direction, but with arrows moving in either direction, and maybe even sometimes arrows moving, you get the idea, lots of arrows moving in lots of directions. So today we're going to look at Psalm 40, which I know because U2 made a song about it, yeah? And it's an interesting psalm because it begins, I think, I'm going to suggest to you, as a psalm of reorientation. The psalmist is in a new place. And then like halfway through the psalm, all of a sudden it changes and it's a psalm of lament, like of disorientation. And that feels weird as I read it because I think linearly. I've been through the disorientation, now I'm in reorientation. Not I'm in a new place and now I'm going to go back to lament, back to disorientation, but this is kind of, I think, hinting at this idea that it's not always a smooth, in one direction path. And one day may be a day in which we feel new and alive and like we're discovering. And then the very next day, if not the very next hour, something can happen that puts us back into a place of disorientation and disorder. So on your seat or nearby on a chair close to you is just a simple little sheet of paper that has two sides to it and with just a couple of questions. Are you feeling oriented and settled? What feels new, hopeful, and alive? And are you feeling unsettled or disoriented? What feels unclear or painful? If you're at home, of course, you can just consider these questions without a piece of paper, or you can grab one. But I'm just going to give you a couple minutes here as a way of practicing prayer, a way of just reflecting and considering your life, talking to God about it, just maybe writing down whatever comes to mind. And it may be that one of these sides of the piece of paper don't mean anything to you today, because maybe you're all in on one of these sides. You're either all in on disorientation, you're all in on reorientation. Maybe it's a mix today. So just a couple minutes here to reflect, to think, to pray, and then I'll close us and move us into something else. Let's just take a few minutes to slow down as we sang, to reflect, to let God speak to us. One of the first things I think that we often have to do is just accept where we are. That can be a really hard thing to do, especially if we're in a place of disorientation, because we don't generally like disorientation, right? It's not our preferred place to be. But accepting where we are is such a critical step. And so that's maybe what we're doing by writing this down this morning, whatever it is. And then, a next step potentially is to then take what we are holding and feeling and carrying and offer it. Hold it with open hands. And for those of us who are people of faith, to say, God, help or walk with me, give me something, I need something. And so we can do that even in this moment as well, is to just hold openly whatever we've written down and to say, okay, this is life at the moment for me, and God, I hold it open before you. Would you walk with me through it? Katie Madison, I was just chatting with her beforehand. Katie and Levon led a little mini retreat yesterday morning. Just a couple of hours of these different spiritual practices. She was sharing with me when they got to the end, everyone was just remarking on how good it was to slow down, how much they needed it. And when Katie did this 9 months ago, I was at that one, we all said the exact same thing when we got to the end. Like, oh my gosh, we so needed to slow down. This is so helpful for that. And I think that's one of the gifts that we offer each other when we come together on Sunday morning, is a space to just slow down and take a breath, check in, and then again, hold openly whatever it is that we have been carrying all along, but we might have been moving too quickly to even notice. So thanks for being in this space and helping to hold space for each other in that way. It's a gift. Okay. Katie, I mentioned you're going to come up and share something as we make a little transition here. Katie's going to share just a bit of, I would call it good news, and also probably an invitation in there, as she talks about helping hands, which is something you may know about and you may not. So that's why you're up here, Katie. Thanks.
So, as Chris said, I'm Katie Madison. I am your newest steward of care,
Yeah, you are.
along with Sarah Jane and Heather. And we'd like to remind you about Helping Hands, or tell you about Helping Hands if you weren't aware of it. It's another fund at the church that you can give to, and it's a helping hand to someone you might know who needs some funds to fill in the gap. I just had a friend last week who was starting a new job, but when you start a new job, you don't get paid right away, and you need some things to start the job. So I was able to find other funds for this person, but that might be example. If you know someone in your community that needs help, you can refer them to us. Also, I just wanted to remind you that it's a fund that you can give to. It's in the church center app where you can give, and it's one of the options that you can give to. But we wanted to share some stories of people who have been helped. So in the past year, we helped pay for a green card for an Afghani family member, and this church helped resettle this family back in 2020. We have partnered with other neighborhood churches to cover a rent payment for an Alger middle school family. We gave a Meyer gift card for food for a friend of a branch person when the food assistance dollars were on hold. And another Meyer gift card to cover an hourly employee who was impacted by closures during the winter snowstorms. So if you do know of someone who needs some help, and we would love to help them, you can refer them to myself, Sarah Jane, or Heather, or Teresa, or Chris. Thank you.
Thanks, Katie. That's an excellent little description there. Thank you so much. I will say that this fund, Katie said multiple times, is for people that we know and that we love who may need a hand. It is also for you. Oh boy, I think that is really hard for any of us to say that we need help for a multitude of reasons. And yet I want to just say very clearly that there are times when all of us need help. Maybe it's not financial, true, but maybe it is. And we hope that you would never hesitate to let us know if you had a need. We may not be able to meet it, depending on what it is, but we certainly will do everything we can to help and to walk with you through that. And of course, these are all anonymous. Katie didn't use any names on purpose, right? These are held confidentially. You won't be paraded in front of the church if you needed a hand. So we would love for you to feel comfortable enough and safe enough to ask us if you need a hand with something. Okay. Let's talk about Psalm 40. And I joked yesterday with my family that I'm just going to sing the whole sermon. I'm just going to sing the YouTube song, and that's it. And then we'll be done. I don't think that's a good idea for multiple reasons. So let me instead do what I'm much more comfortable doing, which is preaching. Let me read the beginning of Psalm 40. I waited patiently for the Lord to help me, and he turned to me and heard my cry. He lifted me out of the pit of despair, out of the mud and the mire. He set my feet on solid ground and steadied me as I walked along. It's pretty clear that the songwriter, who traditionally is attributed as David, has been through a great time of trial and difficulty. They've been in the pit of despair. They've desperately cried out. The ground obviously had shaken under their feet. And while we don't know the specifics, that we are not told in Psalm 40, it is safe to say that this was a season of disorientation. And maybe a key word there that I just used is that it was, right? Because these are all in the past tense. God has now lifted me out of the pit of despair. God has heard my cry and set my feet on solid ground. In this psalm, disorientation has given way to something new. Here's verse 3. He has given me a new song to sing, a hymn of praise to our God, a new song. Notice what the psalmist doesn't say. They do not say that the pit was hard, but at least now it's over, or that I survived and things are back to the way they always were. No, the psalmist speaks of a new song, meaning something wasn't there before that is here now. Something emerged that couldn't have existed without the pit. And that's, I think, the profound claim of this text and Psalms like it. Disorientation isn't just something we endure and then move past. It can be the very thing that produces what's next. It's not despite the pain that we grow, it's through it. And I wish it were otherwise. I really do. I wish growth and maturity could just arise out of comfort and ease. But that is not the way that it seems to work. Disorientation tills the soil of the heart, and it creates the conditions for something new to grow. Now, a bit of good news. Not all disorientation is painful or terrible. My family and I, again, had this immense privilege of traveling to Amsterdam and then to Switzerland. And Amsterdam was this beautiful, unique, vibrant city. And Switzerland was, I'm pretty sure, heaven on earth. Every bend around the road taking my breath away. Travel, for me, is a disorienting experience. There's a foreign language, of course, a different currency, a new transit system to navigate, unusual foods, on it goes. And it's all disorienting. When we arrived in Amsterdam, we had to take a train from the airport to the central station. I had my Maps app open. I had a different transit system map open, and yet we got on the wrong train. Why? Because in the midst of standing in this new place, jet-lagged for sure, and everything new and just a little different, it was confusing. It didn't quite make sense. There was a miss on my part. This is what disorientation does, though. It disrupts things. It can confuse us. It can be painful. It certainly can include suffering, but sometimes it's just the unfamiliar thing or the uncomfortable thing that comes along. And when it does, that disorientation has the potential to break open our heart enough for something new to take root. So for me, two things kind of emerged out of our travel. I'll just share really quickly. One thing, in a way, a new idea or a rekindled idea for me was that culture, my American, Western culture, is neither supreme or inevitable. That's one thing I've been mulling on because I was in this different place. It's a great culture we live in many ways, and in many ways it's not. And in many ways, being in other cultures makes you realize these other cultures have something we don't. Our culture's not supreme, nor is it inevitable. I often can feel like this culture will never change. It's too big, it's too powerful of a force. And then you take a plane across the pond and realize, oh, there's a whole other group of people living this way. And then just cross another few miles, another border, and there's this different group of people living in a different way. Similar, yes, but also not. And boy, maybe culture is a little more fluid and can change, in fact. And so I've been mulling on that. And the other thing that kind of emerged for me as a result of the travel is just a deeper love for my family. It was lovely to be together. And there were just a couple of times, especially when we were sitting around not doing anything in particular, and I just had this realization of how much I'm grateful for my children and for Bethany. Those things, my stewings on culture, my deeper love for my family, would probably not have happened if I had not been in this place of disorientation. It was actually because of things being unfamiliar, and uncomfortable, that there was now space for something new to emerge. This is true for us. I think it was true for the psalmist too. Look at verse 6. You take no delight in sacrifices or offerings. Now that you have made me listen, I finally understand. Some translations say, my ears you have opened. You don't require burnt offerings or sin offerings. This is weird. I mean, we're talking about being in the mire and in the pit and in this place of despair, but you've rescued me. And then all of a sudden, verse 6 comes along. It's really kind of like, it feels very weird and out of place. Until you start to maybe think that, oh, maybe something's happened in that pit. In that place of despair, something new started to emerge. And for the psalmist, it seems to be that it was a new understanding. We're not told the details again, but somehow their ears were opened. You take no delight in sacrifices or offerings. That feels like also a weird thing to, come to understand. But you have to remember, this is written thousands of years ago in an ancient world where animal sacrifices were just the norm. Religions, not just Judaism, but religions in general in the area used animal sacrifices as a way of connecting with God and doing other things. And it feels very strange to us if someone came up to you and said, hey, I'm having a barbecue today, we're going to sacrifice to the gods. You would be like, okay, wow. No thanks, I'm busy, I suspect. So it feels odd. But this was just the norm. This was actually central. It wasn't just the norm, it was critical. So it was believed. But the psalmist has come to some new understanding that sacrifices and burnt offerings can be fine, but they can also miss the point entirely. They can be a helpful means to an end, but they are not the end. The ends are justice. The goal of religion, the psalmist is understanding, is righteousness, which just means right relationship. The purpose of it all is love. We learned last summer as we walked through this Old Testament book of Amos, that was our focus last summer, we learned this very point, Amos 5. This is God talking. I despise your religious festivals. Your assemblies are a stench to me. Even though you bring me burnt offerings and grain offerings, I will not accept them. Though you bring choice fellowship offerings, I will have no regard for them. Away with the noise of your songs. I will not listen to the music of your harps, but let justice roll on like a river, righteousness like a never-failing stream. Okay, here's the point I want to make this morning. The psalmist believed, like everyone would have believed in their day and time, that sacrifices and offerings always made God happy. They were the point of religion. That was their original orientation, right? But then something happened in the psalmist's life. We don't know what. The details aren't included. But it was a time of disorientation. And somehow through that time of upheaval and difficulty, something new emerged. The soil of their mind and their heart was ready to receive new seeds, new ways of seeing. They had a reorientation. I grew up in a faith community that believed strongly in the power of prayer. And what that meant for the people I was with was that if our prayers were earnest enough, and if we prayed with enough faith, God would grant them. And as a kid, not surprisingly, I believed this. And in fact, I liked it. I liked the idea of it, because that meant that I could pray for a good test score after not really studying, and if I prayed earnestly, God would grant my request. I remember seriously praying that I would make new friends. I was like 5 years old, and my mom sat me down and we prayed that I would make new friends as I was moving to a different school. I would pray that I would get what I wanted at Christmas. When I started driving, I would pray sometimes that the light would turn green if I was late. Okay? Now, let me just say this before I say anything else. If God is God, then God can certainly hold any prayer that we offer, no matter how silly or off-center it might be. You can pray for the light to turn green. God will still love you and hold what you offer. I do believe that. But what we pray does say a lot about what we believe, who we believe God is. So for me at that time, I came to really view God as a dispenser of my wishes and hopes. God was a giant, all-powerful vendor. And if I was a good Christian, if I prayed with all my heart and with enough faith, well, even Jesus said, knock and the door will be open to you. I took that literally. But as time went on, I began to notice that most of the things I prayed for, I didn't get. And most of the prayers that we prayed on Sunday morning in our community, including praying for my dad to be healed from cancer, those prayers were not answered. And as I did not get what I asked for, I found myself very, very disoriented. And not just for like a few weeks, but for years, I did not know what to do with this. I was confused, certainly. I was also at times angry at God. And in that disorientation, I had a choice that I think a lot of us face when we're in a place of disorientation. One is to double down on what was. That's one option. So for me, doubling down would have looked like saying to myself, well, Chris, I guess you don't have enough faith, and I guess you haven't prayed in earnest. And so you need to be a better Christian. You need to pray harder. You need to have more faith. I remember this dear woman coming to me the Sunday after many people from our church came and prayed for my dad. He was about ready to have some tests taken. And they came before those tests, and they prayed their hearts out in our living room. And my dad went and had the test, and he did not get better. He was getting worse. And one of these women came to me the Sunday after with tears in her eyes, Evelyn Geerligs, like the kindest, most genuine, generous, lovely human being. And she said to me, I guess we didn't have enough faith. Obviously, I held what she said to me. That made an impact on me. And I could have gone down that path and said, I think she's right. We have to work harder. We have to roll up our sleeves more. We have to have more faith. I could have done that. I think we can always do that. We can always double down on the path that we've walked to that point. Or we can do our best to stay open. Maybe nothing will change on the other side of the disorientation. That does happen too. But could I stay open? Could I be curious? And as I've tried to do that, I think in a lot of ways I'm still doing that around prayer. I don't know quite always what to do with prayer. But I have moved in that where once I viewed it as a way to get what I wanted, I now understand it as a way to encounter the divine. Prayer is a way to experience the love of God for me and for the world. And it's a way for me to be more in contact with the love that I can then share with other people. For me, prayer is not really about granting wishes. It's about a deeper knowing. and a deeper experience of love. But I never would have gone through that. I never would have come to this place had it not been for the disorientation. So maybe you're not in Switzerland this week. Maybe your disorientation has not led you to get on the wrong train. Maybe it's something different. Maybe it's a shakeup at work that's kind of upended your life. Or a headline as you're scrolling that just causes your heart to just sink. Maybe faith for you is not making a lot of sense at the moment. Maybe it did make a lot of sense and now it isn't as much. Maybe for you it's a prayer that's gone unanswered for so long that you've stopped even saying it out loud. Here's what I think the psalmist wants us to know. That whatever place you are in, it is not wasted ground. I know it doesn't feel like fertile soil when you're in the pit. It feels like mud and mire, and it is. And something can grow there that maybe wouldn't be able to grow anywhere else. Not because God causes the pain in order to teach us a lesson. I don't believe that. I don't think the psalmist does either. But because when the ground we stood on stops feeling solid, we become willing to ask questions we never ask otherwise. Our hands open, our certainty loosens, and in that loosened open space, God gives us new songs we couldn't have sung before. And sometimes new ears to hear things we couldn't have heard before. So if I may, let me offer a prayer for our journey through these seasons of orientation and disorientation and reorientation. And let me just invite you to still your body and to take whatever posture would help you to join in this moment. God, when the ground shifts beneath us, and it will for all of us, may we have enough awareness to remember that you are with us. No one, God, not even you, takes joy in the disorientation life brings. But often we need to reach the end of ourselves before we're willing to change. And there at the end of ourselves, something richer can begin to grow. So would you help us? Would you help us know that you are at our side always, in the pit, on the mountaintop, you are there. And because you are there, we can trust that we are being transformed slowly into people of love. Amen. No matter where you may find yourself this morning, we certainly hope you know that you are welcome at this table. On that night when Jesus shared this meal for the first time, that night held, in a way, all of these pieces. They were sitting down to a Passover meal, and as Jewish men and women, they all knew this meal very well. They had practiced it every Passover since they were born. It was a very orienting thing. And then Jesus starts talking about how he's going to die and starts infusing new meaning. This cup, this Passover cup, well, now it means this. And this bread, which we always break at Passover, now it means this. That must have been really disorienting. And yet, somehow through all of that, it did lead to something new. So, no matter where you might find yourself this morning, there's a place here for you at this table. I'd love to have some people help serve communion this morning. We do this every week. We just see who is willing and feeling interested in helping us share this bread and the cup. And so Eamon's doing exactly what anyone else can do, and that would be to just come forward. We'll have a station in the back. You can take the bread, Eamon. And we'll have a station in the front. Just doing this. Is that all right? You going with him or you staying with me? Okay, perfect. A gluten-free option. So if you need a gluten-free option, that'll be up front here. Friends, everyone is welcome at this table. And I'm not the host, nor is Teresa, but Christ is here, bidding us to come, to take and to eat and to drink, and to see that God is good. So we invite you to come. I think when you're in the mire and the mud, it can be really hard to remember the things that we're talking about today. It's maybe one of the reasons why such a tangible sacrament is a gift. Like you get to come and touch and taste and feel the crumbs and smell the bread. It's maybe enough kind of rootedness to help you remember that this is true, that you're loved and that God is with you no matter where you find yourself today. So we take and eat remembering that. And this gift of a cup and it's what is contained in it, again, does the same thing. Reminds us that we're loved. It also calls us to love. Just as God has poured God's self into us, we then pour out the love that has been offered. And we do that to the world. Let's take and drink. You can put your cup in one of these baskets, and we'll clean them here at the end of the morning. Pass that around. Thanks, Seth. And the musicians can come back up, and they're going to lead us in one more song here this morning, so we can stand as they stand and come on up, and we'll join in music here together.
Grace will prevail, though the darkness is strong and the burden weighs heavy and long. Grace will prevail, for God is the light, rending the cover of night. Grace will prevail. Will prevail in the valleys of shame, where the echoes of failure remain. Grace will prevail with a cry to the Lord. There's a mountain of mercy in store. Grace will prevail. Grace will prevail through the wreckage and storm and the brokenness washed on the shore. Grace will prevail. Though an ocean we cry, God is with us and weeps by our side, till the day they forever run dry. Wait for the Lord our God. Wait for the Lord our God. Wait for the Lord our rest and reward and our peace. Take heart, He has overcome the world. He has overcome. Take heart, He has overcome the world. He has overcome. Take heart, He has overcome the world. He has overcome. Take heart, He has overcome the world. Wait for the Lord our God. Wait for the Lord our God. Wait for the Lord our rest and reward and our peace. Grace will prevail.
It's a gift to have more than just words to say, but to have melody to help maybe capture where we are, what we're thinking or feeling. So again, thanks. This week we'll probably bring something like that, just a swirl of lines bouncing from all three of those things. Maybe you'll find yourself in one more than another. know that whatever ground you are standing on in the coming days, God is with you. You are loved always, and we love you. God's love is expressed through us to you, and we hope that you'll know that as well. So go and be people who receive that love and then give it away as best they're able. Amen. Good to see you all, everybody. Enjoy this beautiful summer day. We'll see you soon. Thanks, Seth.